we're continuing with the Meidas touch, guys. And I have dove. Yes, I have taken deep dives into the world of, I live Jordy's life almost every day in many ways, because on my daily stream, what I do is I pick the whole thing, like Rudy Giuliani's Common Sense show that he puts out, or Trump's rallies when he was having them, or his statements. And I pride myself in the fact that on my show, I don't cut clips. I do the whole thing. I do, like, from top to bottom. I interrupt it. I make jokes. I do, I interject with facts. But then no one can say they cut this out of context. They take this out of da-da-da. They mix these two. And I think you guys have a tighter solution for that. I'm the long form to the short form version of what you're doing, which is to juxtapose the lie right next to it. And that, I think, helps with the deprogramming almost more than anything else. Because there are several times where I've done my show and I'm like, Trump, all during the last election and all through his presidency, but specifically during all the rallies, was saying that he got VA choice passed. That was one of his big claims to fame. VA choice was his, and nobody could get it. Not only did he do it, but everybody tried, and nobody could for 40 years. Never mind the fact that Obama passed VA Choice Accountability and Access Act in 2014. It was actually Hal Rogers, a local representative from Kentucky, who drafted the bill. It was bipartisan. It got through. It wasn't even difficult. Like, it was one of the few things where everybody was like, yeah, let's fix it. That's fine. And Trump himself couldn't even allow the fact that he could have literally come out, if he had a brain, and said, the VA Choice Act was put through by a Republican from Kentucky, like Mitch McConnell, my dear friend from, Kentucky, and they screwed it up. I added some stuff and we fixed it. It was a mess. Without me coming in there, you guys don't know. He could have actually done it, but his need for the ego of it had to be impossible, and I had to walk on water to do it. Right. Was both his downfall in that particular one, because I found that I could at least, and it drove the trolls that I have crazy. I'm like, you can think whatever you want about me. You can think I'm paid off by China, that I'm a secret Marxist, that I'm a cross-dresser because my hair's long. You can make up all these.
Did your Soros checks come in this week?
They did not. He's using cards, I heard now. Okay. But I did got my
card.
I got my Soros phone. I got my right. So, but I could put that one up, and I could go, look, you can think whatever you want about me, but you can now no longer pretend you don't know that Obama signed the Availability and Access Act, Accountability and Access Act of 2014. You know this now. This is just reality. Like, go look it up. It's on the VA's website. It's been there since 2014. And do you have people, like, when you show a clip with somebody like clearly lying, and here's clearly them contradicting themselves, or clearly this thing, do you ever have somebody go like, oh, well, all right, you guys got me on that one? Is there anybody who has the guts to say it?
I'd say that's pretty rare.
Curious.
Well, yeah. I think it's just, I think the fact is that, like we were speaking about earlier, these are people who have been just taking in an endless amount of disinformation from Newsmax and Parler and all these things. And so they're preconditioned to think that anything they're seeing from anybody else is the fake news. It's somehow out of context. It's somehow edited, no matter how clear it is. And when you listen to those platforms, you understand how people could believe those things. I mean, you mentioned before that you spend time listening to Rudy Giuliani's the show, which God bless you for that. But I listened to some of his statements that he made recently, and he was like, the president said, let's march peacefully to the Capitol and have a peaceful da-da-da. It's like, okay, if you're going to take like one line out of context, out of everything he said. By the way, you said, let's have trial by combat.
Well, and also,
said, let's have trial by combat.
And he didn't say peaceful until after it had happened.
Yeah.
He didn't
And
say
so,
like, and they're interjecting. They'll recreate reality. They can rewrite. They can fake news their way through it. But if anybody else, and if you call them on it, you're fake news. It's kind of an amazing, like, snake eating its own tail.
And how adding to Brett though, I don't think it's one video that someone sees a 60-second video and goes, you know what, I was voting this way and now I'm voting. But it's repetition, the same way disinformation uses repetition. When we could show you 500 videos that have examples, we can then get you to have that conversation. It's the same tactic, but with truth that disinfo uses, but we use it for truth. And literally from the hashtags to the ground efforts that we do, to the videos that we do, to the billboards that we do, it's all targeted to, we know we're not going to get you in one, but by 50, you're probably saying, okay, wait a minute, like, let me reflect.
How it can be this much?
And then we're arming family members. And this is what the feedback we've gotten, for them to use the videos and sit down with a family member and say, have you seen this? Have you seen that? And that was what was most effective. And we had thousands, if not tens of thousands of people saying, I showed this to my cousin and it brought him on a path here. I brought this to my uncle. It's always an uncle. I brought this to my uncle and he did it, or an aunt. So that's, I think, our strategy, and there has been some success.
You know, it's so I'm gonna ask you in a second about your plans going forward in this last segment we have with you. Going into 2022, knowing that some of these other people, the Josh Hawleys of the world, the Ted Cruz of the world, are hoping to scoop up MAGA and carry it with them and have it be their delivery system. I was doing a travel show in China before all this stuff happened, and when I came back from China the last time, I was like, there's this disease that's spreading there, and we need to get ready. I was saying this on my radio show in 2019. And wash your hands. If you're sick, stay home. It's bad. And the idea that they didn't know is ridiculous, because I knew and I was over there. But that's another side story. In China, they have a lost generation of men called the evil uncle. And they have evil uncles because these are the people that during the Cultural Revolution were kind of left out in the cold. And they make their money effectively like spy hunting. They view every foreigner as a potential spy. So they basically, if they can catch one, they get $80,000 US effectively in money or whatever. So they just, anytime you're filming or walking around with your camera, if you're an American tourist especially, and they think, Australians fake, their accent and they're really Americans, they just loiter around you and tell you you can't film things. And then they call the cops on you, and then the cops show up and then they leave you alone, because these guys are always turning you in. But that's the only option they have. And it's very much, there is such a parallel between those guys and the weird QAnon uncle patriot guy over here. This lost generation that feels like they've got no job, no purpose. They got nowhere to go. I know the Ted Cruzes and the Josh Hawleys are looking to latch onto those people and drag them by the nose. So what do we do going into 2022? In these house races and the like, which is a much broader effect, getting people to vote, that's obviously much more crucial. People are starting to recognize that. The attacks on voting that are going to come. Are you guys gearing up knowing, okay, we've got to have a strategy for the next 2 years leading up to that as well?
I would say we're not only gearing up, we're already getting started with it. We think one of the mistakes of Democrats in the past has been not quite waiting to campaign for your values and against candidates until the actual election cycle is imminent. And we're looking down the barrel right now of 2022 with a Republican Party that, let's face it, at this point is just the party that openly supports fascism and authoritarianism. And we want to do everything we can now to make sure that everybody sees what's happening, that we think these are anti-American acts. And if Josh Hawley or Ted Cruz or Tommy Tuberville or any of these people think that following Trump, who is a loser with a 29% approval rating, who may be in prison soon, is the key to their political future, I want them to know that they're mistaken. And I think we've also seen success in recent days and weeks with the targeting of businesses and corporations who support these politicians. And, what does your corporation stand for? Do you stand for American values and innovation, or do you stand for literal domestic terrorists who tried to attack the United States of America and overthrow the government? This isn't like, they're conservatives, so you shouldn't support them. Like, we disagree on taxes. It's like, this isn't that. We are far beyond that.
And how we have to deliver though. We can't ignore that base. We can't be the Democratic Party, progressives, liberals, whatever. Can't be arrogant. We have to realize that we can have some huge, ambitious platforms, but at the end of the day, we have to speak face to face to that uncle. We have to look at them and have these conversations and recognize that they are feeling pain, that they do feel like they're a lost generation. But what we have to explain is that raising the minimum wage, making education affordable for your children is a way that your family
and yourself
is better. Yeah, and when the Republicans put up the Loefflers and Purdue's, these billionaires who engage in insider trading, who just want to, do the bidding of Wall Street. Like, we're not that party. We're actually the party for the working class, and we need to reinforce that message and deliver.
I agree. Yeah, no, we can't be the party that says we see the humanity in people who are disenfranchised or society puts to the side, and then not see the humanity of the person standing next to us because we politically disagree with them. That's the hard part. It's easy to, it's easy to cry, at one of the ASPCA ads, the poor weeping dog, that you feel sorry for is, I'm not impressed by how you treat that animal necessarily. It's, it's the tough one. Yeah.
I think the important thing too, that Ben was saying is that when we speak to those people, it doesn't involve compromising our values. It is telling them why our values are actually helpful for them. It's communicating. Yes. Them. Like we're not trying to, and we should never compromise our beliefs for how to make America better with, their kind of current demands for what they think about America. We should really try to explain to people why this is the path going forward that's best for them and best for their family.
Right, exactly. And we've got a couple seconds left, so the last word goes to Jordy, just because he gets put in, nobody puts baby in a corner.
They always do saying. What I'm going to say is Meidas Touch is here now. We're going to be here well into the future. We're always going to be here to combat disinformation and uphold the truth.
That's great. See, he knows what he's doing. He can bring it. Just brings it home. That's right. He's the guy with the guy. He's the guy with the heavy bag.
I'm smart. I can handle things.
That's right. Thank you guys. MeidasTouch.com and of course at MeidasTouch on Twitter. Thank you guys for the work that you do, and thanks for joining us on the show today. I really appreciate it. Keep it up, and if I can, if you ever get to the point where you need somebody to host a little mini documentary, I'm your dude. Oh, yeah. See what I'm saying? We'll do it. I'm for it. Okay, we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.